Finally, after the weekly candle close yesterday, we are slowly watching some volatility in the market. Crypto market right now shows that. Now, if you pick up XRP for that matter, this is a 3-day chart in XRP terms, and it kind of shows you just one candle to the downside, which is this particular candle. That one candle is now taking 3 candles to come back up to test the entire range created by that selling candle, and it's still getting rejected. That is not a favorable sign for bulls. You zoom in on that to see, okay, what exactly happened back then and what we are doing now. This is that trend line which we should be caring more about. Price action is finding it very hard to break it to the upside, and that does mean something. This is exactly why you look it up on a daily, on Bitcoin, on a 3-day, on Bitcoin, everything aligns. It's following Bitcoin like crazy. That one candle to the downside, it's visible on the Bitcoin chart. The 3 candles attempted to the upside, it's clear. Now, watch the trend line. It's still far away. So if it was to go up here, it would have got rejected heavily. Now that if it's showing you I'm not going there right now, then it may first come back to the support, yeah? Which means what? The upside is going to be there, and it's going to be decent 3-wave microstructure. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. News like this should actually definitely get your attention. When a bank comes out saying like, okay guys, watch, this is what I think about Ether, you need to rely on that. Just the opposite side of the equation. Because remember, Standard Chartered back then in 2024 was saying what? We're looking Bitcoin to hit $150,000, and that was close to the top. Think about that. Yeah? The local top formation back then in Bitcoin was here. And they came out and said, we are looking for 150,000. So they were kind of starting to sell. They wanted a lot of individuals to buy in. So they just delivered you that information. Yeah? And then the majority sold, they would have bought back here at the bottom. This is how they play. So if I pick up Ether chart and I look at this, I'm like, does it make a lot of sense? I mean, they're kind of trying to put the narrative out so that the majority will sell. And it looks like the market is showing you the history. Yeah, the same. We've seen these kind of moves in the market before, close to these trend lines. And that has happened to be the bottom. Or think about it in another way. A large cap asset with a lot of partnerships, it's down 60%, which is kind of more than its average drop in a bull market. And the banks don't want you to buy that. That kind of gives you a lot of sense. Now, if you're on the total crypto market side of things, this is what you're watching. This is the altcoin market excluding Ether. Now watch. You don't have the bullish divergence yet. So anyone and everyone saying, oh, don't wait for that shit, just buy back in, is lying to themselves or want you to use literally different exchanges to buy in so that they get that commission. But think about this. This is the proper channel which you are watching. If you get a breakout, okay, there is something to think about. But if you don't, it is going to backfire. And when I say backfire, think about assets like XRP. This is XRP, yeah? We put it on a 3-day, you get to see, okay, we are not climbing back up. We do not have the momentum. I'm taking you guys to the weekly chart, and the weekly chart says, that 1 week, that was very bad. I mean, that kind of takes you back into the equation to show you what a candle like that in history would look like. Yeah, looking at that candle, just easy part is measure that total downside. It shows you that candle alone and that run alone dropped 40%. So if you put that structure in, you're watching something like this. That was like 60%. Now 40% is what? This thing here. So if the first run down was 40%, what would be the base looking at the next one? Yeah, that last time was 60%. So imagine the price come back up, giving you another opportunity if you're very lucky. That's this trend line. That's 2.7, $2.8. If they are to drop 60% from there, that would put the price action close to $1. How many of us can really be happy that the price would be at that point? Only the individuals who took the profits at the right time and kept at least 20 to 30% of that. If you did a 10x, that makes sense. You're buying 3 times the XRP units which you had, just using 30% of the dry powder. Yeah, you're buying double that just with 20%. So perspective changes. Now, why does such a perspective have an importance right now in the market? If I'm looking at this to make a sense in the market, I would look at the market and say, like, okay, each time in XRP, you had like 2 ups on a monthly chart, 2 ups. So am I coming back up to do that one more leg? And that second leg has pushed the price up. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? Great. Now, on a bullish note, if you are measuring this, that was a 26x. And the next one formation here gave you around a 9x. Say 10, close to it, right? Think about that. So the price has to do a 10x for that second leg to the upside and to give you a negative divergence. So trouble is what? When that RSI drops, that dropped 37% the first time, 33% the next time. So if we put the average and say it's 35% drop, which I'm looking at, you are now watching to say the moving average in the RSI needs to be met. So where would the price action come down at that point? You go on a weekly, you would like to see what it actually will do or what it may do in the price action terms. So you bring up that and you see, okay, this support has been strong. So the price action is holding that line. But if the RSI has to go down, the price needs to capitulate. And this is where all the long-term analysis, medium-term analysis comes in picture. Clear? It's easy. Now look at a lot of different assets, whether it's smart contracts, whether it's gaming, you kind of watch that there is a possibility that this divergence is coming in. All you need is patience and discipline. And this time, when you have that amount of dry powder, slowly dip your toes. That's okay. Remember, before the daily movement started, I posted it to you guys saying, guys, watch. I think it's a boring market right now, which usually brings in some volatility. We did that post maybe a couple of hours back. And now you go into an hourly chart, you'll actually get to notice that. Yeah, that hourly candle just came up after the boring 2-3 candles. And this is how the market plays. Now, that's a basic chart. Yeah, an hourly chart, it shows you this. That's the trend line. So you're like, let me zoom out. What's the trend line like on a 4-hour chart? This is what it looks like. Okay. What's the pattern formation like? Am I trying to do something? It kind of shows you, okay, I have a possibility to break to the upside. Fine. Let me zoom out. Let me go on to a 12-hour chart. What am I really doing here? This is where I'm saying, guys, watch. The attention you need to give into this market, it's important. Why? You have a bullish divergence developing on a 12-hour chart. You have a pattern formation developing in here, which looks like a falling wedge. So if the price action come back down, do this kind of a chop, it can break higher and come back up. Now, if it does a long wick to the downside, that's okay. If it doesn't, that's still okay. You are just revisiting the bottom and saying, I'm putting in those highs. I'm about to go back up. Great. There's going to be that fake out where the majority would be dragged back into the market and then the whales exit. In the meantime, if you're really interested in getting the right updates at the right time for a lot of different assets, and especially getting personal communication on your portfolio, the assets you have, the dry powder which you're storing, be a part of the Scientific Investor family. Make sure you understand what the market is doing. And if you haven't smash the like button yet and dropped any comments, please do consider supporting the channel like that. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye for now.